welcome back to my channel. I'm Kristen, and today I'm going to be talking all things Rhinebeck because yes, this past weekend the New York Sheep and Wool Festival happened, and even though I only went on Sunday, I still have lots to share with you. We're going to be talking Rhinebeck sweaters, we're going to be talking friends, we're going to be talking yarn, shopping, and so much more. Sheep. We can't forget about the sheep. There was plenty of sheep. So if that is your jam, gather around, grab a cup of something, and let's get into things. As for what Margot the mannequin is wearing, she's indeed wearing my Rhinebeck sweater, which is the Birkin pullover by Caitlin Hunter. It was kind of a toss-up between this sweater and my Fiola by Isabel Kramer, and I ended up going with the Birkin because at the end of the day, my friends, my Birkin is my favorite. I feel like all of my sweaters are my babies, as with many other things that I create, but at the end of the day, I do have a favorite child, and I have to say, it's my Birkin. And I knit this, I want to say, 3 years ago, beginning of the pandemic. And it's gotten so much wear since then that I decided to give it the Rhinebeck treatment, if you will. It needed its 15 minutes. I feel like I've talked at length about this sweater many times in the past, so I'll spare you the spiel and leave a link to another video in the doobly-doo in case you want to check out, in case you're new here and you want to check out a video where I go more into detail about making this sweater, knitting it, the yarn, the process, the journey of the Birkin sweater. Rhinebeck, where do I begin? Even though, again, I just went on Sunday, and last week I mentioned how I was kind of on the fence about going, and my decision to go was very, very last minute. I took a few years off from Rhinebeck, truth be told, because, well, the first year I just legitimately wanted a break. I wanted to take a breather. And then the pandemic happened. So there was another 2 years that I didn't get to go. And then this year I was not planning to go, and then just seeing everyone getting excited about it, and then my mother-in-law asking if I was going, FOMO set in, and I was like, you know what? Let's do it. Albeit I went on the most chill day possible, which is a Sunday. So if you've never been to Rhinebeck, wow, yeah. So Friday are usually when the fringe events happen. So you have Indie Untangled, and then this year there was Woolen Folk. I've been to those in the past. They are crazy. The type of crazy where it has its pros and its cons. But for me, as an introvert, it has more cons. So I decided to forgo attending those events. And then Saturday is the main Rhinebeck day where, you know, just everybody comes to the fairgrounds, and there's the hill where podcasters meet up and everyone gets to meet each other in person, mostly for the first time. It's magical, but at the same time very, very overwhelming, especially for yours truly. So I tend to avoid the hill as much as I love meeting, you know, you guys, viewers. I mean, truly, I love meeting you guys in person. Please don't be offended when I say just not all at once. So that's typically why I avoid the hill and just say, you know, if you do see me roaming around the fairgrounds, please don't hesitate to come up and say hello. So I just want to say thank you so much to those of you who did come up to me and say hello. Some of you texted me after or left me a message online saying, you know, you did see me, but you're all peopled out. So I totally get it. And you know, hello from afar. You know, I just hope you guys had a blast and came away with lots of yummy yarns and happy memories. I'm talking really fast. It's the coffee. It's coffee. I shouldn't be drinking this. My goodness. I've actually never gone on a Sunday, believe it or not. And, you know, I have heard from other people that Sunday is the best time to go. If you're not a fan of crowds, it's very chill, less people. You can actually get into the booths, and my goodness, those rumors were true. I think going forward, Sunday is the day that I'm going to be going to Rhinebeck from here on out. I don't know. I'm not saying that that's going to be set in stone, but I thoroughly enjoyed myself. I could get into vendor booths without having to, you know, crowd surf or dodge people. So, you know, that was definitely a plus. And the other plus was that the weather, my goodness, the weather was beautiful. I'd be remiss not to talk about the weather because I feel like the weather is always a thing when it comes to Rhinebeck because it's so hit or miss. I mean, I've gone when it's been raining, I've gone when it snowed, and I know I've heard last year it was just completely rained out. So this year we really lucked out. I mean, the sun was out, not a cloud in the sky. I was actually sweating in my Birkin. I got to a point where I eventually had to take it off. It was warm in the sun, cool in the shade, perfect fall day. Could not ask for anything more. I also had a cheeky little members meetup. If you are a member of this YouTube channel, I did post in the community tab. I got a little crafty and made a map of Rhinebeck, the whole layout of the fairgrounds. I circled building A and said if anybody wants to meet up at 2 p.m., I will be there. And holy cow, guys, it was so good. It was a small meetup, which was, absolutely perfect. I could have stayed there for hours chatting with you guys. I mean, I got to meet Tanya, I got to meet Aggie, I got to meet Rhonda. Hello. And while we were standing there chatting, some other familiar faces just came by and we ended up chatting. It was so good, guys. And yeah, that's truly what I miss about Rhinebeck. Just seeing familiar faces, catching up, and leaving with all the warm and fuzzies. Shopping. What did I get? I was very, 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 very restrained, my friends. The last Edinburgh Yarn Festival that I attended, I kind of went off the deep end. I kind of said screw you to the budget and just let whatever yarn wanted to follow me home. And yeah, guys, I seriously don't know how I managed to pack all that yarn in my suitcase. I barely had room, and I think I had to give some to Dennis to put in his suitcase. Anyway, I think after that experience, while it was so much fun, it was too much, guys. And after that experience, I was like, there's no need, Kristen, to come away with that much yarn. It was pretty gluttonous on my part, and yeah, don't get me wrong, I love keeping the stash stocked. It's a palette. It's there for me when I need it. It's a source of inspiration, but I don't like to have one of those stashes that are just overflowing, because when it gets to that point, it's just overwhelming. So I kind of like to have a steady flow of, yarn in, yarn out, with a little, cushion, if that makes any sense. Anyway, I digress, as I do. I went into Rhinebeck this year with sort of a game plan. Like last week, I said that I know I wanted to hit up the Foxhill farm booth, because that is my favorite booth. That's the one that I make a beeline to every year whenever I go, and that is exactly what I did. So, my friends, I did indeed come away with a SQ's worth, or sweaters quantity, worth of Foxhill farm fiber, or Foxhill farm yarn. And yes, it is in the same exact color as my quill shawl. 4 skeins of this. And again, this is Foxhill Farm. They're from Lee, Massachusetts. And this is their Cormo Cross fingering. Look how scrumdiddlyumptious that yarn is. I mean, and Katie of Katie Did Bags, hi, she wanted to know how, soft this was and how rustic. And I think, rustic was a poor choice of words. Rustic in the sense that it kind of has like this very homespun, it looks very homespun, if you will, and it's undyed, it's all natural. So rustic in that sense, but not in the sense that it's incredibly, incredibly next to skin. I mean, buttered kittens to the max. It's a cloud. So good. I was contemplating getting a different color, because it comes in this color, which is a very heathery brownish gray, and then they also had natural, which was like a cream white, and then they had a very, very dark chocolate brown, which I was considering getting, but then I just kept zeroing in on this color because I just absolutely love it. So 4 skeins of this. Let me see. 4 skeins of this. 1, 2, 3, 4. We're gonna get a really nice sweater out of this. I'm thinking something with cables. I'm still tossing around a couple of ideas, but the first pattern to come to mind would probably be a poet sweater. And if you're not familiar with the poet sweater, I'm blanking on the designer name, as I usually do, but it was a pattern from Lina several years ago. I want to say 3-4 years ago. A very beautiful sweater. I have the issue here. I've got to find it. But anyway, that certainly could be a possibility. So anyway, very, very, very pleased with my purchase. And I did actually ask the lady running the booth there just to confirm, because last week I mentioned that Foxhill Farm, they don't have an online presence. They're solely yarn festival only. And I get it. I can appreciate that, because they want to keep things small, manageable. I can completely relate. But yes, they don't have anything in the way of a website or an Instagram, something where you can just go on and order online. But I did confirm with her, and she says, yep, that's just how we do it. But she did say that if you know what you want, you can always call and she will ship it. So at least there's that. And while they don't have a website, you can always go on Ravelry and you search a specific type of yarn on Ravelry. All their information comes up and you can see all the different bases and stuff. So you can go on there, and if there's something that piques your interest, you can always call her and tell her what you want. We also met up with my in-laws, Dennis's parents, because they actually live in the area in Dutchess County. So whenever we go to Rhinebeck, 9 out of 10 we always meet up with them. So that was really cool, and I got to walk around the festival with them. My mother-in-law is also a knitter with a capital K, but a spinner as well with a capital S. My goodness, she spins some really gorgeous yarns. So whenever we go to Rhinebeck, she always makes a beeline to the roving, to the fiber. And I came along with her to, I think in Building B, smack dab in the middle of Building B, are tables, rows and rows of fleeces. So, while it's a little beyond my scope to, purchase a whole fleece, process it myself. And I'm not saying never. I'm not saying never, but right now that's not really in the cards for me. But I appreciate those people that do come away with, these magnificent fleeces and go through the whole process of, carding, cleaning, carding, and then processing it and spinning it. That's sorcery, my friends. So I did go and take a look at the fleeces with her, and my gosh, there was this ginormous bag of Cormo sitting at the table. I actually got a photo of it, but I could not help myself. I just stuck my hand in the bag of Cormo and just had a moment. It was so nice, guys. And I was tempted. I was very, very, very tempted to come away with that. But I know for a fact I wouldn't know. I wouldn't know what to do with it, but I would probably never get around to doing anything with it. So I left the Cormo there. It was pretty expensive too. So I left the bag there for somebody who knew what they were doing. But anyway, moving along, I did purchase one more thing. When I go to Rhinebeck, I love stopping by the Loop Fiber Studio booth, and that is run by Steph Gorin. If you're not familiar with Loop Fiber Studio, oh my gosh, guys, Steph, she creates the most beautiful psychedelic fiber bumps. I mean, these things. I still have some up in the attic hang on a second. We've got stuff. Okay, so Loop Fiber Studio, where do I begin? She creates, this is a little out of her comfort zone, I want to say, because usually they're so colorful. I picked this up, I don't know, 7 years ago from Rhinebeck. I still have it. But this is an example of one of her fiber bumps. Look how absolutely beautiful. I mean, again, out of her comfort zone, because usually she creates super colorful ones, and out of mine, clearly. Well, not so much anymore. I mean, I feel like this is definitely in my wheelhouse, but at the time, I really wasn't knitting with anything this light and airy. But look how it just reminds me of the beach. It's so pretty. There's a center pole, and you just spin from it. And let me see, what is the fiber content of this? So yeah, this is a bull's. So this one is called Seashore. I mean, very, very apropos. That's going to be hard to get in. But it's a blend of merino, bamboo, tussa silk, and Angelina. There's 5.4 ounces in here, and yeah, this is her logo. And yeah, I just love the little drawstring bag that it comes in. So, makes it easy to store and all that jazz. Here's one that is actually spun up and plied. So look how fun. I mean, again, this one is very out of my wheelhouse, but in the bump, it just spoke to my soul on so many levels. This one I picked up, I think the year after I got that one. And this one is called Natural Spring, and again, it's merino, tussa silk, and Angelina, and bamboo. Same fiber content. And yeah, they're just super fun to work with. Look at all those beautiful colors just playing together. There's some Angelina in there. It sparkles. I have no idea what to make with this. I mean, this has to become something. It's been just sitting in my stash, waiting for me to work with it. And truth be told, I have never knit with my hand spun, and I hear there's nothing like it. So I really need to get on that bandwagon of just, knitting with my hand spun. I feel like it would be a very rewarding process and feeling, just from fleece to sweater, I don't know, fleece to finished object. It's magic. And the reason why I haven't dipped into this, and it's really silly, is because it's just so pretty. It's just so pretty to work with. I don't want to ruin it. It's a work of art, but I know that's silly, and I should really just It was meant to be spun, so at some point, I'm gonna dip into this. It's time. Clearly it's time. But anyway, back to loop. I think a couple of years right before the pandemic. Why is like the pandemic now this great divider of time? I think it's very similar to people who endured the war, like World War I or World War II. There was always the time before the war and the time after the war. Now for us, our generation, it's the time before the pandemic and the time after the pandemic. It's very creepy. But anyway, before the pandemic, a couple of years, Steph introduced a new line to her lineup of fiber and offerings. She introduced yin and yang yarn, and I think this is before she actually coined it yin and yang, but she so generously gifted this yarn to me when I visited her booth that year, and I still haven't figured out what to do with it. Steph, if you're watching, I don't think she is, but thank you so much. She just said, here, take it, do something with it, post it on Instagram, and here we are, I don't know, several years later, and I still haven't figured out what I want to make with it because it's just so pretty. But again, I don't want to compare it to Spin Cycle, but if you are familiar with Spin Cycle, it's yarn that's been dyed in the wool and then mill spun, and it creates this really cool gradient effect. But what I really appreciate about loop yarns or her yin and yang line is that it still has the marled effect, but it's all the same color. So, it's right up my alley. So anyway, these are the two that she gifted me that year. This year, I made another beeline to her booth and purchased yarn this time because I want to support her and I love the work that she does. I forget at which point she rebranded it as Yin and Yang, but here is one of the skeins. And yeah, definitely my wheelhouse. It's just a black and white, it's not pure white. It's, as she described it, Steph said, it's more of like a bone natural color and black. So black and bone, if you will. And I got a contrasting color. But the idea is she creates two different colorways using two different colors, and they create a pair. Does that make any sense? Anyway, the idea is yin and yang, and these colorways are indeed called yin and yang. And she does this with all of her colorways. So she'll have like a deep purple and a peach, where in one skein the dominant color is the purple, and then in the other skein the dominant color is the peach. And I also think it's brilliant how she names all of her colorways. So like this one is yin and yang. Another one could be named kiss and make up. Oh gosh, what's another one? Live and let live or something. I think that's a colorway. Anyway, I'll leave a link to her Etsy shop down below. So many beautiful colorways, so many beautiful fiber bumps. Again, can't go to Rhinebeck without visiting her booth. And she's a doll. Again, I could have easily sat there chatting with her for forever. She's so awesome. But again, she had a booth to run. I had booths to visit, and you know how it goes. But anyway, I bought a sweater's quantity worth of this yarn. I got, let me see, 3 of the, yin and 1 of the yang, because she had a sample hanging in her booth called Okapi by Judith Brien, and as soon as I saw it, I was like, I need that sweater in my life. And I bought the same colorways that she used in the sample, with the exception of one of the sleeves, because if you look at the pattern, both sleeves have stripes on them, but one of them is a contrast. And I, personally, while that looks really cool, I kind of want them to be matchy-matchy. So I got enough yarn to make the sweater with matchy-matchy stripy sleeves. Really resisting the urge to cast that one on. Again, lots of stuff that I still have to get off the needles. But yeah, this yarn, I should mention, is fingering weight. It's 100% extra fine merino, not superwash. And oh my goodness, it is very soft, very, very next to skin. Here are the skeins close up so you can get a better idea. And yeah, it's just so cool, so cool. And as for these skeins, these are, let me see, this is her worsted base, also 100% extra fine merino. And yeah, equally very, very soft. These are not sister skeins or anything. I think they're 2 separate color. They're not a pair. This one has deep purple and gray. This one has a mustard and gray. So, but they do work together. This colorway is called Leaps, and this one is called Peace. So I'm assuming the sister to this skein is called Leaps and Bounds, and then Peace and Harmony, I'm gonna go with. I don't know. I'm guessing here. I doubt it's war. I really doubt it's war. But anyway, you never know. I'll look online. That was my Rhinebeck yarn haul. Again, very, very restrained. I behaved and I'm very proud of myself. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that really stood out to me other than, I don't know, like spinning. Like spinning feels like it's something that might be back on the horizon. Number one, my mother-in-law came away with she bought like a lot of hand-dyed fibers. So I know she's going to be spinning a lot in the coming days. But just walking through the booths and seeing all the fleeces and fibers and hand-dyed, like rovings, and I know I'm probably getting my lingo wrong here because roving is completely different from a fleece. But anyway, I'll get there one day. It's been a while, guys. But yeah, it's all that exposure to fiber again makes me want to get my lend room down from the attic. I know, I'm a terrible monster for putting my spinning wheel in the attic, but when, we were moving, I just wanted to start with a clean slate and just move things back in, slowly but surely, if that makes any sense. So yeah, she's still up there, Tallulah, my beloved lend room. I think it's time for me to bring her back down here and get some use out of her again. Because yeah, I do, a part of me does miss spinning. And, I do pick up my drop spindles here and there, but it's never, my attention span and the speed at which I can drop spindle, I don't know. I feel like I need to spin on a wheel to really get any spinning done. I did make a point to visit the barns. I did get to see some sheep, and oh my gosh, guys, they're so cute. They're so cute. I wanted to take one home with me. But yeah, I'm gonna end things there, guys, because I know I have a couple of other projects in the wings that I want to talk about, but I'm gonna hold off until next weekend because I'm getting a little winded here. Thank you so much as always for hanging out with me. As I say every week, if you're new here and haven't already, feel free to like and subscribe down below. Consider becoming a member if you would like to support my little corner on the interwebs. And until the next video, have an amazing day, have an amazing weekend, and I'll see you next time. Bye.